Satsanga deho he amare, Jaya satsanga deho he amare, boshechi sangero ashe. Harinam Sankirtane, Tumi kripa kore Shadavindu diya, Tumi kripa kore Shadavindu diya, Tumi kripa kore Shadavindu diya, Deho Krishna Namadane. Krishna say tomara, Krishna dite para, tomara sakati ache.
Krishna say tomara, Krishna dite para, tomara sakati ache.
Amito Kanga, Krishna Krishna boli.
Amito Kanga, Krishna Krishna boli.
Amito Kanga, Krishna Krishna boli. Gaitava pache pache. Ohe Vaishnava Thakura, Doyara Sagara, Vedase Karuna.
Hare Krishna, welcome everyone.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Pranam Prabhuji, Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Dandavat Pranam
Hare Krishna
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji.
Thank you for joining so early in the morning, this Saturday morning. It's so nice studying and learning Nectar of Devotion with all of you. It's such a nice way to start our weekend, isn't it?
Yes.
Today, actually, we will continue with chapter 1. And this is actually my favorite chapter. It's my favorite part of the whole Nectar of Devotion. And maybe you'll see why. Of course, all the parts are equally very wonderful, but this is something that is just something that I have really liked. And we'll see. I need to move faster, and it's taking longer than I'd expected. I was hoping to do 2 chapters a week, but It's more like going like one chapter a week. But actually it starts going faster. So when we come to the 64 items of devotional service, that's a few chapters, but it goes quickly because, it's the items of devotional service. There's not so much to discuss. The main theological parts are here in this beginning part of the Nectar of Devotion. So that's why it's taking a little longer, but hopefully we will catch up. We will, get some more momentum as we move forward. So we always start with prayers to the spiritual master. So we will start again today. Om Jnanam Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadammayam Dadati Swapadantikam.
I'm explaining you, I'm showing.
Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitangsha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I'll just share my slides. So last time we discussed the definition of pure devotional service. And we looked at two different definitions of pure devotional service. And now we look at the characteristics of pure devotional service, the effects and characteristics of pure devotional service. And this is one of the reasons why this is so special, I feel, this chapter, because ultimately, it's the characteristics of pure devotional service, the results of it, that inspired us to engage in the process of devotional service, right? Let's say, as a result of practicing devotional service, we were, exceptionally miserable. We were drunk. We were frustrated. We were angry. Then why would anyone practice devotional service? Then we might as well stay in Maya, right? We might as well be in our normal state. Normal meaning our abnormal state of material conditioning. There are certain effects of devotional service that we see, due to which we become inspired to engage in the process of devotional service. So Rupa Goswami in this chapter describes those, and in this way shows us the great benediction that pure devotional service bestows upon all humanity, bestows upon everyone, all living beings. So in this chapter, there's a discussion of the 6 characteristics of pure devotional service. Pure devotional service is so sublime and satisfying that devotees engaged in Krishna's service don't want anything besides that service, not even the liberation of Salokya. So we were discussing this yesterday, that Salokya liberation is attaining the same planet as Krishna. So even they don't want to attain the same planet as Krishna or have a planet similar to that of Krishna. Sometimes devotees, they can even have their own planet. Like we see Dhruva Maharaj. He gets his own planet and Krishna becomes his doorkeeper. He's so pleased with his devotee. He loves his devotee so much. He's more than happy for his unalloyed devotee to switch roles, where Krishna wants to serve the devotee and see the devotee in the opulent position, just like Krishna became the charioteer of Arjuna. Right? The charioteer is the inferior role. The fighter, the warrior, is the superior role. Krishna became the inferior. Arjuna is the superior. But the Lord is eager for this because the devotee, the unalloyed devotee's only desire is to serve the Lord. So there's a relationship of perfect love and trust. And that's why both sides are fully giving their heart. So devotional service is so sublime that once we get this pure devotional service, we don't want anything else besides that service. Not because we force ourselves, not because someone tells us to, but because it's so wonderful that all of our ambitions, all of our desires are simply focused on pure devotional service to Krishna. All of our activities, all of our material ambitions become dovetailed, become engaged in the pure devotional service of Krishna, because our mind and heart is so attracted to Krishna that we don't really, we cannot absorb ourselves in anything else. Just like even this morning, I was thinking as I was chanting that sometimes when we're chanting, we have major conversations going through our head, right? Generally, it's especially it's the case if there's some conflict that's happened, right? Not heavy even conflict, but something even small, some misunderstanding or some discussion or between devotees, right? And that then we are processing while we chant. And I was thinking that the reason why those thoughts stay in our mind when we chant is because that problem is more important to us than Krishna's and Krishna's service, right? That whatever, even it's not a problem, maybe it's something nice, it's some exchange, it's some work that we have to do, but that is a bigger, that is overcoming our consciousness more, that is a bigger place in our mind and heart than Krishna is. But if Krishna has a bigger place in our mind and heart, then though those things will exist, we will not be thinking of those things, we'll be thinking of Krishna. Because the practical experience is that whatever is most disturbing to us, or what is the most important thing to us, that's what comes to our mind at that time, right? Just like we may have this thing or that thing, but let's say something very good happens, then immediately our mind becomes attracted. It becomes attracted to Krishna. So it becomes attracted to that very thing, right? It becomes attracted to the most important thing that's in our mind. So if Krishna is the most important thing in our mind, then our thoughts will go to Krishna while we chant. So a very important point here that why the devotee doesn't want anything else, simply because it's so sublime. This word Prabhupada is using is so sublime, that devotional service is so sublime and satisfying that we just don't want or don't think or don't meditate on anything else besides that service to Krishna. So these are the 6 effects of pure devotional service. These are the 6 things that happen in order, progressively. The first result is relief from suffering, kleshagni. The first effect of pure devotional service is that it frees us from all suffering. Now, most of us are looking for freedom from suffering in this world. And the first benediction, the rudimentary, easy benediction of devotional service, is that it gives us relief from suffering. Now, how many of us can say that we are not feeling the pangs of suffering, right? Even in a pure devotee's life, there's difficulties, but they're not suffering due to their absorption in Krishna. So how many of us will say that we're still feeling the pangs of suffering? If you're not feeling the pangs of suffering, then please raise your hand in the Zoom. If anyone is not feeling the pangs of suffering, please raise your hand. Yes, so there's 100% agreement that we're still feeling the pangs of suffering. So that means that we are not even experiencing fully right now the first effect of pure devotional service. However, we start to feel that relief. I can definitely attest that to my life, that you start feeling that relief because your mind is not agitated so much anymore, and most of the suffering is in the mind. Then the second result is all auspiciousness. Devotional service is shubhada, all auspicious, not auspicious for one party, one group of people, and inauspicious for another. But the effect of pure devotional service is that it's all auspicious. Anyone who comes in touch with it becomes auspicious. Anyone who's given that association is becoming auspicious. Third one, moksha lagutakrit, it derides even liberation. So we talked about the 5 types of liberation. One of them, yes, today, this morning, salokya, achieving the same abode as the Lord. And this pure devotional service is, Prabhupada is saying, it is vimukti. It is better than liberation. It's the highest liberation. Because why? It derides even liberation. Moksha lagutakrit. Laguta means makes it small. Moksha lagutakrit. Moksha becomes small. The devotee doesn't care for liberation. How wonderful is pure devotional service. I mean, we dream to get liberated, but the devotee does not care for liberation because he has the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. Then extremely rare, sudurlabha. Devotional service is extremely rare. Very, very rare, sudurlabha. And then sandrananda visheshatma. There's incalculable bliss in pure devotional service. So it's very rare to reach this, and it's then that after that stage, it's incalculable bliss. Sandrananda Visheshatma. So remember, we already said that it gives us freedom from suffering. So there's no suffering long before this stage. But the stage that we're getting here is unimaginable bliss and happiness. And then finally, the topmost is Shri Krishna Karshani. It attracts even Lord Krishna. Pure devotional service, when it becomes very purified and very condensed, then Krishna becomes attracted by it. And that is, like we see, this is the month of Damodar, that is the love of Mother Yashoda. Not just Mother Yashoda, even she's of course on that stage, but even any of the residents of Vrindavan or the pure devotees of the Lord, their devotional service attracts Krishna, Shri Krishna Karshani. So now we'll talk about each one in detail because Srila Prabhupada talks about each one, beginning with Kleshagni. He starts with the question, how is it that devotional service frees a person from suffering? So we have a question and answer here. What causes suffering? The answer is karma, reactions to previous sinful actions. Papam, right? So karma, which is the reaction to our papa, is what causes suffering. Question, what impels one to engage in sinful action? Because that's the cause of suffering. So now they're asking, well, what's that cause? The answer is sinful desires, bijam. It's the sinful desires that make us engage in sinful action. What gives rise to material desires? Answer is bodily identification, resulting from ignorance, avidya, of one's spiritual identity as Krishna's eternal servant. that this is how we get suffering. This is the the process by which we find ourselves in a suffering situation. Now, devotional service is so special because it destroys the cause of suffering at its root. Kleshagni is the first characteristic of pure devotional service. There's destruction of suffering and its causes. So the first cause of suffering is avidya, ignorance. Ignorance manifests in the form of ahankar, which is considering oneself to be that which we are not. That is ahankar. And that ignorance leads to sinful desires, to sinful actions, papa, and to suffering. Devotional service is kleshagni, even for beginners. This means that it reduces or nullifies all kinds of suffering. Prabhupada is saying, even for the beginners, it reduces or nullifies all kinds of suffering. Such a valuable point, such an important point that Krishna is mentioning here, that we don't even have to be advanced devotees or pure devotees, but there's so much benefit in being a devotee, even materially speaking, because we have to go through so much less. Krishna says in the Gita, right? Neha vikramanashvasti pratyavayo navidyate swalpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mato bhayat. That just a little advancement on this path can save one from the most dangerous type of fear. Often I think, this and this could have happened, that could have happened. Sometimes devotees also go through immense suffering. Just like we're aware of one devotee who's going through very intense suffering. But then Krishna is directly guiding that devotee's life, where you can see how that Krishna's inviting that devotee back to their original position, the spiritual world. So that is Krishna's prerogative to decide how he wants to elevate us. But whatever it is, the suffering is being reduced. And whatever it is, the suffering will be nullified very soon. So again, looking at the anatomy of suffering, we start with avidya, which is the first characteristic of avidya is ahankar. I am a body, material desire. I'm a material body. And when I feel that I am this material body, then I develop desires in relation to that material body. I want, I hate, I fear, I destroy. So these are my conceptions that this is who I am. I'm a proud man, I'm an angry man, I'm an intelligent man, right? So our false identification is with the physical body, but our ahankar, our false identification is also with our mental body. We make a mental persona of who we are, right? People are like, think I'm a cool person. So then they'll wear a certain type of shoes. They'll, have a certain lifestyle. They'll buy furniture from certain stores. They will, have a certain car. So we do our ahankar, our false self is not just our physical body, but our false self is also our mental body, because both bodies, the subtle material body and the physical body, are material bodies. And then once we develop these two bodies and the false identification with those two bodies, then we act in this world. And then our actions manifest in sinful activities. So avidya, this tight knot of false ego, is due to ignorance. As long as one is ignorant about his identity, he is sure to act wrongly and thereby become entangled in material contamination. So Queen Kunti says that disagreements in this world are due to social intercourse. By acting in this world, by interacting with others, there will be conflict, but there will be entanglement. We get entangled, and so therefore we must cut this tight knot of false ego if we actually want to realize our true identity. And all of our, our difficulties are based upon this social intercourse. And so therefore the devotee, especially in the beginning stages, tries to distance himself or herself from this material contaminating environment and tries to absorb himself in the spiritual environment. And this is why the great devotees of the Lord, they went to Vrindavan Dham. They stayed there. They spent time. They went to Mayapur Dham. They went to places of pilgrimage. Because by going and extricating ourselves from material sense pleasures and the atmospheres of such, we can relieve ourselves of that contamination. Or they engage themselves deeply in the service of the Lord, in spreading Krishna consciousness, because that is also like residing in the holy place. Right? When we are engaged in the service of Krishna, then that place becomes a holy place. So either way, but one takes their thoughts and aspirations out of the material world and into the spiritual world. There are many, many snakes on the ground of the forest. And when a fire takes place, it burns the dried foliage, and the snakes are immediately attacked. Similarly, the blazing fire of Krishna consciousness is so strong that the snakes of ignorance are immediately killed. Way Prabhupada writes, is so powerful. Similarly, the blazing fire of Krishna consciousness is so strong that the snakes of ignorance are immediately killed. So if we just engage in Krishna consciousness and Krishna's service, all of our material desires and ignorance is immediately burnt. No problem. No separate endeavor is needed. Someone in the chat box has mentioned if captioning is available. I don't know how to turn it on. Does anyone know how to turn captioning on? I don't mind turning it on, but yes. So
You
yes,
can
no.
turn it on yourself, I think. I see where it says more on my computer,
yes.
like so it's on the bottom and
Okay.
like it's a circle with little dots and it says more. And then
Yes.
and I can turn it on and now I've got the captioning is going.
Oh, I see. So people can turn it on themselves.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Because I'm in more and I can't see the captioning. So I can't do it as the host, but I think all of you can do it. Thank you for that, Motherji.
You're welcome.
See, I can disable annotation for you, but I can't turn it on for you. Very nice. Okay, so thank you. Yeah, so you click on more, and then there's a drop down, and you can turn annotation on. So now this is the famous famous circle of suffering, and this is some of you may know this already, but it starts with avidya, and it leads to bija, sinful desire. Sinful desire leads to papa, sinful action, and then this sinful action leads to the unmanifest reaction. So as soon as we, this is the cycle of karma that's being described here, very important. This changed my life, actually, understanding this, that after the sinful action, immediately when we do a sinful action, there's an unmanifest reaction. And that unmanifest reaction manifests then in two ways. The unmanifest reaction, so immediately, it's just like charging your card. The debt is there. Now you're going to get the bill later on, but the bill is going to manifest in two ways. One is the manifest reaction, right? Your prarabdha, right? So unmanifest becomes manifest eventually. I smoke, immediately nothing will happen, but 40 years later, I get lung cancer. So the unmanifest reaction will become manifest. But there's another thing, and this is the part that we miss. The unmanifest reaction also manifests in more sinful disposition. So when we do a sinful action, one of the reactions of that sinful action is that we will want to do it more and in a more intense way. And when that sinful disposition increases, then sinful desire increases. Then the sinful desire is there because we get a sinful disposition, sinful desire. Then again, we'll do sinful action. Then there'll be the unmanifest reaction to it. Then again, sinful disposition. And like this, it will increase more and more and more. So this is why some people, they say, well, I have this desire and therefore I should just fulfill it. It's a sinful desire. Like, I want to eat a Kentucky Fried Chicken. I don't know if no one here has that desire, but someone has that desire. I just want to try it one time. I'll never eat meat again. But no, when you try that, then one of the reactions is going to be you're going to want to eat there again. Next time you're going to want to, I don't know, try the fish. And then this and that. So trying to fulfill our sinful desires is never a way of overcoming our sinful desires. It will only ensnare us more in that circle of desire and suffering, desire and suffering, desire and suffering. And you see this actually, right? It's so obvious, so clear in this material world. It's like the more we use our phone, the more we become addicted to using it. It's not like it's like, okay, now I've used my phone, I'm satisfied, The more kids play video games, the more they become more attached to playing video games. It's not like, oh, they play the video game, it's like, now I've played a video game, my desire is satisfied, I never want to play a video game again. It never works like that. The sinful desire keeps on increasing. Similarly, you'll find like movies, right? There's a genre of movies called horror movies. And you think like, who on earth would like to watch a horror movie, right? Life is already horrible enough. And then we're going to watch a horror movie. But why? Because the more people watch movies, the more they want something more and more intense and intense and intense. And a person who doesn't watch movies, when they come and watch one of these movies, they think, are these people insane? Like, is this pleasure? Is this happiness? Like, I didn't grow up watching so many movies. And for me, every movie is like so intense. And people are watching this, oh, okay, yeah, this character, it's just like they're normal because they're just acclimatized to it. And then the more you get acclimatized to it, the more intense it has to become, the more sinful it has to become. And you see this in all forms of sinful activity. All forms like, drinking, smoking, sex life, like it becomes more and more intense because we need it in a more intense way in order to satisfy our desires because our desires become deeper and stronger and more dangerous. And then we keep increasing it, and then one day we hit rock bottom. So one can say, well, why is Krishna doing this? Because he keeps fulfilling our desires as we increase them. But then one day we realize it comes crashing down on us that this is not going to make me happy. And Prabhupada says this actually in one purport, that when the soul reaches its most desperate situation, and then when he calls out to Krishna, then his life changes. Oftentimes we see that then one's life changes. Because then we become detached. We realize that this is not. But that's a very painful process. A better process is that we understand that this sinful reaction, the sinful desire is there, and we replace that sinful desire with a spiritual desire. Because if we do that, then we don't get involved in the cycle of suffering. If we try to fulfill the desire, we get the more sinful disposition. We're back in the cycle. But if we just ignore the desire, or we can't fully ignore it, we ignore the material desire and we engage ourselves in spiritual activities and get that taste for Krishna, then we won't do the sinful action and we won't get the unmanifest reaction. This is why Krishna says in the Gita, he says that I'm remembering the translation but forgetting the verse. It says, one is happy who controls his senses, not one who tries to fulfill his desires. This is the translation, the meaning of it. Not he who tries to fulfill all of his desires. If we just simply try to run after each desire, we go mad, and we can never be happy, and it will just we'll keep wanting more and more. It's the nature of lust, right? Krishna says it's the all-devouring sinful enemy because it keeps expanding. It's never satiated. But on the other hand, if we, through regulated devotional service, we control our mind and senses, then our mind becomes very peaceful. Like the slide we started with, we don't want anything else because we find Krishna. So in one lecture, His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj, he mentions that there's two ways to light out the fire. Right? One way to light out the fire is you stop giving it wood. The fire will light out. Another way to light out the fire is to keep putting butter in it. You have a fire, you keep putting butter in it. What happens? It will just keep increasing. But then at one point, if you put, like a pot full of butter, if you put so much butter in, you'll actually burn out the fire, right? So you can do it that way, but that way is very risky. You may not get enough butter. And secondly, it's very, very slow and very painful. So when we engage in devotional service, our ignorance is burnt, our sinful desires are burnt, so we don't get into the cycle of suffering. So this is the same thing that I mentioned, just another image. This is the nature of desire. So this is the sinful desire. It has two parts, pleasure and pain. And that desire leads to actions, the relative actions of this world. Ichha dvesha, right? Ichha dvesha. I like, I hate. As long as we're on this concept of I like and I hate, we're actually in the mature consciousness, right? So the person who we hate, they may be in material consciousness. They may be at fault. But if we are on the level of friends and enemies, like and dislike, then we're also in the mature consciousness. And that material consciousness leads to material actions of I accept and I reject the dualities of this world. The devotee is not on that level. They're simply seeing what's best for the service of Krishna. Let's get this. Okay. So, so kutam is the intensification of material desires through sinful disposition. Remember, the unmanifest reaction manifests in the form of prarabdha. Aprarabdha becomes prarabdha, and it becomes unmanifest desires. Okay, so we discussed that enough. So now, on the Nectar of Devotion, now Rupa Goswami quotes the scriptures to base these points. So we're saying the devotional service solves all this, right? It takes us out of the cycle of suffering. To substantiate that, Rupa Goswami is quoting scriptures. And this is something you'll see he'll do throughout the Nectar of Devotion, throughout the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, is that he always quotes the authorized scriptures to substantiate his points. So what is the proof that bhakti destroys suffering at every stage of our life, at every stage of suffering? What is the proof that devotional service destroys every part of this circle? Here, then he quotes verses. In the 11th canto, Krishna tells Uddhava that it destroys the unmanifest reactions, the aprarabdha karma. In the 3rd canto, he tells Devahuti, and you can go and verify all these yourself, the manifest reactions are destroyed by bhakti. In the 6th canto, it's described that Shukadeva Goswami describes that it destroys all of our sinful desires. Right? And in the 4th canto, it tells us how devotional service destroys ignorance. So Rupa Goswami is like an encyclopedia of all Vedic knowledge. And whenever there's a need for a verse, he knows the perfect verse to substantiate his points. So now, Kleshagni, the first stage of bhakti has been covered. The one that is most relevant to us right now, because we're all suffering, and we can be assured that Krishna consciousness will cure all forms of suffering. Now, the reason it does this also is, in fact, because Krishna consciousness is all auspicious. It's all auspicious. There's nothing in this world that's all auspicious. If one political candidate is elected, to be a little relevant here, it's auspicious for some people, but inauspicious for others. If another is selected, then it's inauspicious for some and auspicious for others. But if devotional service is performed, it's all auspicious for everyone. And what are these four aspects of all auspiciousness? The first one is it attracts everyone. The second, it benefits everyone. The third is that it brings about, it creates saintly qualities in a person. Devotional service actually generates saintly qualities in us if we engage in devotional service. And the fourth is superior happiness. Devotional service bestows a superior happiness, and therefore it's all auspicious. So what else could one want? It benefits us, it produces saintly qualities in us, it gives superior happiness, and it attracts everyone. No other welfare movement can succeed in this. The example Prabhupada gives is of the United Nations. When the United Nations makes some ruling, then one country is happy and another country is unhappy. This is because such movements are based on the limited bodily platform. Only bhakti, being on the universal platform of the spirit soul, can appeal to all and benefit all living beings. And this is why bhakti transcends all boundaries of caste, creed, gender, color, ethnicity, gender, bhakti, age. Bhakti is meant for everyone. Bhakti is that universal platform where even the animals can participate in devotional service. And we see that Lord Chaitanya's movement in particular was a response to Brahminical casteism. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's movement, his preaching was in response to the Smarta Brahmanas of that time, because they firmly showed and said that devotion to God is for everyone. It breaks all the boundaries. Lord Chaitanya comes and he breaks open the storehouse of love of God and distributes it to everyone. What to speak? People say, "Oh, this is a lower caste," or "This is a this is this person, American or Indian or South Indian or North Indian or Bengali or African," or even to the animals. Lord Chaitanya uplifted the animals in the Jarikhanda forest. Which human being can be lower than an animal? Who can say that, oh, this caste or this creed is less advanced than an animal? So even if the animals were invited to join Lord Chaitanya's movement, then what to speak of living beings in this world? So as devotees, we must be very considerate of this, that are we getting back into the bodily conception of life? Having left the material world, are we then applying our spiritual life based on the bodily conception of life? No. Bhakti is Shubhada. It's all auspicious for everyone. And therefore, everyone can be encouraged to participate in it to the fullest extent. Therefore, everyone can become a pure devotee. Nothing else bestows saintly qualities as thoroughly as bhakti. So you may get some good qualities by taking, a self-help course, by taking a communication course, by taking a yoga course. But these will teach us good qualities, how to, speak nicely, how to sit nicely, how to cook nicely, all these things. But the qualities that bhakti bestows is like none other. that quality cannot be matched. Because that quality actually makes the heart pure. Just like we see very great musicians in this world. They're so talented, right? They're gifted. They have so many qualities. But when people are around them, they can't stand being around them, because once they're so talented, they become famous, then they become very proud. And then the real qualities of a devotee, of humility, all these things are not manifest in their heart, right? This is why the celebrities have the most divorces, though they have so many qualities. But the real quality of humility, compassion, selflessness, non-violence, sacrificing oneself for others, those qualities are not present there. Interesting, just yesterday in my class, I was teaching Confucianism. He's a great Chinese philosopher. And Confucius talks about the principle of Ren, which is Ren is his solution to how to bring harmony in this world. And so Ren means, actually, the word Ren, it means empathy, human-heartedness, kindness. But Ren particularly means the exact Chinese translation is to elevate others like one elevates oneself. To elevate the other person. That's the meaning of Ren. One a Chinese scholar was explaining that all of those things are manifestations of this quality, which is the basic quality of wanting to see others elevated like one would see oneself. So mundane education and yoga don't bestow these qualities. Other processes do not dissolve the false ego. Thus, whatever good qualities one develops ultimately become dovetailed with selfishness and spoiled. This is why devotional service is the complete package. Yes, we can, do other things to further enhance, quicken, help our practice of bhakti. But bhakti is developing saintly qualities and establishing this from the root, because it is dissolving the false ego. And the false ego is what makes us selfish. When it dissolves the false ego, then what we do is not dovetailed simply for our selfishness. Just like people have such high ideals, I'll serve the country and all these things. But when they become elected leaders, then it's all about them, right? Those great noble qualities become dovetailed in their own selfishness. Whereas a devotee may not have such great qualities, but whatever qualities they have, they're engaging it for the service of others, for the service of Krishna. And the fourth one is superior happiness, Shubhada. The fourth quality of Shubhada is superior happiness. There's three qualities of happiness. Happiness from sense gratification, happiness from liberation, happiness from devotional service. Three levels or forms of happiness you can get. The happiness from material enjoyment, which is the lowest. From detachment, giving it up, there's a great happiness. No more headache. That's liberation. But the happiness of devotional service is the happiness derived through love. The happiness of pure devotional service is superior to the others because it includes the others, since the devotee's senses are still active and he is liberated from dualities of material existence. It alone is eternal. Other forms of happiness are based on temporary conceptions of the self as the body or the self as Brahman. Only happiness built on an eternal self-concept, Krishnera Nityadas, can be eternal. Prema Pumartha Mahan, right? Lord Chaitanya says the highest destination, the highest goal in this world is prema. So only happiness that is built on the conception that I am an eternal servant of Krishna, I am an eternal lover of Krishna, that is the happiness that will sustain. So pure devotional service gives the highest form of happiness. And then, to make that point even clearer, the very next stage is happiness that derives liberation. Moksha lagata akrit. The happiness of pure devotional service is so great that it makes even the inestimable happiness of liberation appear trivial. So the happiness of moksha is millions of times greater than the happiness of sense enjoyment. But the happiness of devotional service is millions and millions of times greater than even the happiness of liberation. So how wonderful it must be. Just like Albert Einstein, in one quote, he says that the happiness of the mind is thousands of times greater than the happiness of the body, right? So he had come from the physical level to the mental level. And just by coming from the physical to the mental, he had realized so much more happiness. So the more subtle we get, the more we get moved towards spiritual, the higher the happiness. But then, of course, he didn't know that millions of times higher than the mental happiness is the happiness of liberation. And millions of times greater than that is the happiness of pure devotional service. So he was just, almost there, but not quite there. Okay. Then this fourth stage, you can reach the stage of even moksha lagutakrit. Very easily, you're giving up material things. But this fourth stage is very difficult to obtain, because this is in the stage of bhava. This prema is very difficult. Two reasons pure devotional service is so rare and difficult to attain. One, we cannot obtain it by our own efforts. It only comes by Krishna's mercy. So our effort can inspire Krishna's mercy, but we can't just obtain it by our own effort. That effort, Krishna's mercy becomes very pleased by that effort. He becomes pleased and gives his mercy. So the more effort we put, the more likely we are to get Krishna's mercy. But there's not a one-on-one relationship there. And number two, Krishna does not easily grant devotional service. Why he doesn't easily grant devotional service? Because of the last one, because Krishna becomes attracted or becomes controlled by devotional service. So you won't let someone control you who you don't fully trust. So pure devotee is someone who has proven themselves to Krishna that you can trust me. I'll control you with my love, but I'll only serve you in that love. So that's why he allows to be controlled by Mother Yashoda and the gopis, but not us. They can ask Krishna to dance in a circle just for a little butter, but we cannot do that. So therefore, pure devotional service is difficult to attain. Then we say, well, I thought Srila Prabhupada said that it's very simple, it's very easy. It's difficult because it's very easy, right? It's difficult because we can't do the easy, just surrendering to Krishna or serving Krishna. We must make it very difficult. We make it very complicated because we have material desires and we can't give them up. Just that little desires we have, it's stopping us from entering the spiritual world. So some desires, not even all of them, some of them can be engaged in Krishna service, but our material desires are, and because we just can't give that up, we don't get that ocean. Just like one time Brahmananda Prabhu, at that time Prabhu was smoking a cigarette, and he had become a full devotee. He had started chanting, he was reading, he had become Srila Prabhupada's right-hand man. He was serving him in so many different ways, but he couldn't give up smoking. He just had an addiction. He gave up everything, but he couldn't give up smoking. So he goes to Srila Prabhupada and he says, Prabhupada, I've given up everything. I've given up meat, I'm chanting, I'm waking up in the morning, I've given up my full 8 hours of sleep that I used to have, but I cannot give up this smoking. And Srila Prabhupada said, give me one cigarette. I said, oh, Prabhupada is asking for a cigarette. What is he? He said, give me one cigarette. So Ramananda Prabhu gives Prabhupada a cigarette. Prabhupada takes a cigarette in his hand, between his two fingers. And he said, you are going to let this little smoke come in between you and Krishna. This little smoke little cigarette. You're going to let this come between you and Krishna? And then Brahmananda Prabhu said that was the last day I smoked in my life. I completely gave it up. So Krishna consciousness is very simple, but we need the mercy of a devotee and the association. Then it's simple. And this was one of the last sentences that Srila Prabhupada said. His last sentence that he spoke before he left for the spiritual world is, we should seek good association. By Srila Prabhupada's association, Brahmananda was able to give up smoking. So by good association, we can advance and it becomes simple. If we cannot achieve bhakti by our own efforts, why should we endeavor so hard in Krishna consciousness? Our efforts cannot cause bhakti, but they can attract Krishna's mercy by showing our sincerity. Our efforts purify our heart and make it a receptacle capable of holding Krishna's mercy. So, Krishna may give his mercy, but are we ready to accept it? Will we be able to hold that mercy? So our effort helps in purifying the heart so that we can also become a receptacle for his mercy. We can recognize his mercy when it comes. In fact, Prabhupada says his mercy is always there. If we can purify our heart and accept that mercy, then our life is successful. So therefore, working hard for Krishna is important, because that's what readies the heart, so that the mercy that's always falling, we can accept it. Why doesn't Krishna give it easily? Because it has the power to control him, as I mentioned. Such a nice image shows this. He's being controlled. The controller is being controlled by his devotee. And then the next one, the happiness of pure devotional service leads to incalculable bliss. Sandrananda Visheshatma. There's no limit to this bliss. The happiness of pure devotional service can become so intense that it is incalculably condensed, and it fills the entire consciousness of the devotee. Wow. The reason why we read this and speak about this is because by reading this, by hearing this, it increases the greed in us. It increases our greed. That I want that happiness also. So what can I do to get it? Right? It increases the greed to actually reach it. And what's stopping us from experiencing this incalculable bliss is offenses within the heart, Prabhupada describes. Particularly the first offense of blaspheming the devotees of the Lord. Right? So if we really want this bliss, then why should we not just give up this habit of criticizing others, of finding fault in others? We don't realize the bliss that's being offered. Therefore, we're not so greedy to do whatever it takes to reach that stage. We're not greedy to give up this mentality. But if we can give up this mentality, right, the whole spiritual world opens up for us. Everything's opened up for us. And so therefore, the devotee is willing to give up anything for Krishna. And beginning with the mentality of criticism and fault finding, the mentality of making friends and enemies, the mentality of being in a duality of happiness and distress, fame and infamy, honor and dishonor, and developing the mentality of Krishna consciousness, developing our full absorption in Krishna. So why should we think in a critical way to stop us from the great fortune and the great favor of experiencing this incalculable bliss? So these 6 items can be divided according to the 3 major categories of spiritual advancement or the advancement of bhakti. So in the three main stages. The first stage is sadhana bhakti. Then it's that's regulated devotional service. Then bhava bhakti, which is devotional service in ecstasy. And the final is devotional service in pure love, prema bhakti. So the first two stages, kleshagni, relief from suffering, and shubhada, all auspiciousness, manifest in the sadhana bhakti stage. The next two stages of bhakti, which is moksha lagutakrit and sudurlava, right? Hard to attain. Sudurlava and moksha lagutakrit. Shubhada, which one? Moksha lagutakrit and sudurlava. Sudurlava. These two manifest in the bhava stage. So this is sadhana, this is bhava. And now this incalculable bliss stage is the start of the prema stage. On the stage of prema bhakti, which is Krishna, love of God, on the platform of the pure devotional service, on the platform of pure love of God, it's incalculable bliss. And then the next one that we will look at. So the happiness of prema bhakti is simply incalculable. So now each of those two stages is divided according to each of the stage of bhakti. And in each one of these stages, there's a mention of a stage of happiness. So under Shubhada, you might recall one of the ways that it's all auspicious is that bhakti grants a happiness that's superior to other forms of happiness. So that's the happiness on the stage of sadhana bhakti. The happiness at the stage of bhava bhakti is that it's so wonderful, it derives even the happiness of liberation. And the happiness on the stage of prema bhakti is that it's simply incalculable. So if you haven't guessed or noticed until now, devotional service really makes you happy. And the intensity of that happiness increases according to the intensity of our devotional service. And so if we're not feeling happy in devotional service, if we're not feeling happy as a devotee, then there's something that we're doing wrong. We should reassess. What is it that I'm doing wrong? Maybe I've come into the fault-finding mindset. Maybe I've come into a conditioned mindset. Maybe I've entered into a materialistic mindset. So we have to readjust the mind, and we have to figure out, why am I not feeling blissful? Because I'm harboring some feelings. Okay, so let me express those in a nice way to whoever it is, and then experience the happiness of bhakti, engage myself again. Let me not hold any grudge in my heart. Let me give that up. Let me not hold any anger or resentment. Let me give it up so that I can experience the happiness of bhakti, this higher happiness. And then the last one, after describing that on the stage of prema, there's incalculable bliss, Rupa Goswami says, Shri Krishna Karshani. The final aim is achieved, which is the very aim due to which we start the process of bhakti, which is it attracts Krishna. Being the Supreme Lord, Shri Krishna is not in need of anything, but he is attracted to the pleasure of his own internal potency, expressed through loving affection of his parts and parcels. So Krishna is not in the need of anything, but he is still attracted by the pure devotee's love. He doesn't need anything, but he wants it, because that love is so sweet. That devotee's heart is so pure. Krishna is so attracted to him. In discussing this characteristic, Srila Prabhupada mentions Srimati Radharani. This is because pure devotional service, as a manifestation of the internal potency, expands from her. Since she is the most attractive to Krishna, her potency, pure devotional service, also has the potential to attract Krishna. So, pure devotional service to Krishna does not reside with Krishna, because he is Krishna. But pure devotional service to Krishna is the Bhakti Shakti, is the energy of Srimati Radharani. Because she is pure devotional service to Krishna personified. And therefore, one of her names is Madana Mohana Mohani. Krishna's name is Madana Mohan, but she's Madana Mohana Mohani because she attracts even he who the whole world is attracted by, Madan Mohan. So, therefore, she is known as Madana Mohana Mohani. And she is Shri Krishna Karshani. She attracts. So, if we take up her bhakti, right? If we, pick up a scoop of her devotional service to Krishna, and we offer it to Krishna, then we will also become, our devotional service will become attractive to Krishna. And this is why we always serve Krishna through Srimati Radharani, following the footsteps, following under the instructions, the guidance of Srimati Radharani. She is experiencing a happiness that is higher than even Krishna experiences. This is why Krishna comes down to this world as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, simply to experience the happiness, the intense bliss and love that Srimati Radharani is experiencing as a devotee of Krishna. This is why the previous one, right? Sandrananda Visheshatma, incalculable bliss, because that bliss also is partaking from Srimati Radharani's bliss of serving Krishna. So our goal is to follow in her footsteps. It's just like in the Nectar of Instruction, it's mentioned how one who bathes in Radha Kund attains the same love, the same type of love for Krishna that Srimati Radharani has for Krishna. So this is a fact. And in another place, Rupa Goswami is saying that, and this is one way, by bathing in the waters of Radha Kund, by going to the dham of Srimati Radharani, by remembering Srimati Radharani, we actually gain the mercy, the bhakti of Srimati Radharani, the bhakti that she has, in the same way the devotee is blessed with it. Okay, and that is the end. So perfect timing. We'll end here. And if anyone has any comments, questions. You all are a quiet group. Every time you're very, so please, yes, please, Pankaj, go ahead.
Yeah, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, is it possible to like have this book available? Like you can buy from somewhere, like from temple or
The Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu?
no, the Nectar of Devotion.
Oh yes, of course. I mean, it's available in every temple of ISKCON, and it's
Okay.
also available online. So if you go to vedabase.com,
Okay.
you have Nectar Devotion there. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And yeah, and one more question, Prabhuji. I know you mentioned about criticize and fault finding, right? And we live in this world, and sometimes I feel if you don't do that, I think as per dharma, that is also not correct. So sometimes I think we have to, criticize or it's maybe you are trying to say your point, but other person can take it that yes, you are criticizing or you are fault finding. So if we do that, is that correct or it is not correct?
That's a nice question and point. Because actually this Sunday here in the temple, the topic that we're discussing is the story of Sakshi Gopal, right? And in this story, the Brahmana is not keeping his promise. And so the younger Brahmana goes to Sakshi Gopal and he says that this Brahmana is not keeping his promise. So you should help me. and so I don't want to get into too much detail for it. And so Krishna helps him, and he fixes the situation. So I mean that is not exactly fault finding or criticizing, right? That is the devotee trying to help the situation, improve the situation. So the fault finding and criticizing is based on the mood, right? On the intention. Fault finding and criticizing means when the intention is based upon envy or jealousy. When our intention is envy and jealousy, then we fault find and criticize. And 99%, at least for myself, 99% of the time, that's what it is, right? We think that it's something else, but that's not what it is. 1% of the time, we need to do it to improve the situation. And that, like Prabhupada, I was mentioning before, when we express ourselves, that's humility. Because it's very easy to not express and just be proud and walk away. But when we are actually trying to help a situation, then that's coming from a different place. And that can be actually a service. Right? So the younger Brahmana sees this as a service to the older Brahmana, that I can serve in this way, by helping him keep his vow, by helping him keep his promise. So it's a matter of wanting to offer service by helping a situation or criticizing. Those are two things. But see, sometimes we can criticize and go away. Like we see so often, people criticize, something's not right, they criticize and go away. But they don't offer an alternate solution, nor do they help to make that solution come true. Right? Like we can all sit for hours and we, like people do, we criticize the political leaders and this problem, they're not doing this. But at the end, it's just for our own aggrandizement. We didn't work to find a solution. So the devotee is more interested in helping find the solution, right? Helping in the solution. Yes.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you for clarification.
Thank you. But yes, something must be said. Like they say, evil is when good people don't say anything. Is often when the good don't say anything, right? So if something is wrong, then it must be said. And the difference just is, like we're discussing, where it's coming from. Are we trying to help the situation? Yes.
Very good point, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. You also brought a good point to this thing.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I have a question.
Hare Krishna. Yes.
Prabhu, you mentioned devotional services. So, can you tell us a couple of categories or a couple of things which relates to devotional services? Is volunteering, helping the temple, does it come considered as devotional services? That's my question, Prabhu.
Absolutely. So there's a nice verse in the Bhagavatam, Akama sarva kamo va moksha kama udaradi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta paramapana, that even if we have so many material desires, or if we don't have material desires, right? Let's say I have so many material desires, I want to be wealthy, happy, all these, or I have no material desires, I just want to serve Krishna to serve him. Either way, tivrena bhakti yogena, if we engage in the intense process of devotional service, if we engage in the process of devotional service intensely, yajeta paramapavan, we will reach the highest destination. So what is this devotional service? This devotional service, like we were discussing last time, is Hrishikena Hrishikesha Sevanam Bhaktir Uttama. When we engage our senses, so our sight, taste, touch, smell, our hands, legs, when we engage our senses in the service of the master of the senses, Hrishikesha. So if we engage our senses in the service of Krishna's senses, which means serving his temple, serving his devotees, serving the deities, serving his children by helping them come to Krishna consciousness, right? All the living beings. Truly serving them means helping them come to Krishna. If we do these things, then that is bhakti. That is bhakti. So a devotee is always engaged. They don't want to stay idle, or they don't want to leave the world, turn away from it, because they're very eager to serve Krishna by spreading his glories, chanting his names. So chanting God's names, Japamala, chanting, this is service. Yes.
Okay. Thank you to clarify.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Very nice. Bhadra Krishna Prabhu, I think you're next.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you for
Hare-
the wonderful class. Prabhu, you mentioned about Bijam and Aprarabdha.
Hmm.
So is Kutam also part of Aprarabdha or is that separate?
So aprarabdha manifests in the form of kutam and prarabdha. So aprarabdha means unmanifest reaction. When we do a papa, a sinful act, then we get the moment we do it, we get a reaction. That is aprarabdha. That unmanifest reaction, which is not manifested, it's just, you've gotten that, you gotten that debt. It's not manifest right now. Then that will manifest in the form of kutam or sinful desires. One part. The second part will manifest in prarabdha, which is the manifest desires. So like when people go and play lottery, right? They play gambling. When they play it, then they lose money. So that's the manifest reaction. You have to now pay it from your pocket. The unmanifest reaction is that they want to play more, right? Actually, gambling is a perfect example. They want to play more. So that is kutam.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you. Okay, now I don't remember who came. I can look here. Yes. Divya Bhakti Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you so much for another wonderful class. I often feel confused and then I don't, and then I think I understand, and then it comes up again and I feel confused again. So often we hear about how Krishna grants pure devotional service. So he's giving it, okay? But we're encouraged to engage in pure devotional service. So how is it if Krishna hasn't granted it? How, like it's like chicken and egg, like what comes first, I
That's
just
exactly
find
how it is. That's exactly, it's a chicken and the egg, because none of them come really first. Because we get the mercy. The first thing that happens is sadhu sangha, which is we get the mercy by some fortunate contact with the devotee. And then when we get that mercy, we at least make enough effort to accept it, right? And to not turn away, to not, throw a tomato at them. So many people met Srila Prabhupada, but not everyone responded to his mercy. So many people did. Everyone eventually will probably who met him, but some of them responded immediately. So it starts with the mercy of a devotee, then we make some effort. Then when we make the effort, then Krishna becomes pleased. He gives us intelligence. Tesham evanukam partham, right? Aham agyana jamdama. I guide from within the heart. So that mercy comes in the form of Krishna giving intelligence. Then once you get that intelligence, if we're sincere, we act on it. But some people don't act on it, right? They just wait and say, "Oh, I'll do it next year." So then it's going to slow down. But then when they act on it, and then let's say they don't do it, but then Krishna becomes again merciful, and he sends another devotee. Then they meet someone on the street. They receive a book from that person. Then oh yeah, I should do something, and then they start doing it. So sometimes Krishna shows mercy 2 or 3 times. Like this one man I met, he first met the devotees, in the temple. Then he forgot about it. Then he met the devotee who gave him a book. Then he didn't do anything. Then he went to Govinda's restaurant. He had prasad. He still didn't do anything. Like Krishna wouldn't leave him. He must have been a special soul. There's so many people who never even meet Krishna in some way, but he met 6 or 7 times in 2 years. And then finally, then he one day surrendered, right? So then it's your effort. So most of it is mercy in our case, because in Kali Yuga, we don't have the qualification to really do it ourselves. Most of it is mercy, but we always have to put some effort. Because if we don't put some effort, then why is the Bhagavatam there? Why is the Gita? Then by his mercy, Krishna could just liberate everyone. We don't even have to, chant. But some effort has to be there, because this is a reciprocation of love. We have to be wanting to do it. Then Krishna helps us.
Thank you.
Pure devotional service is not received completely immediately. We start with devotional service. The more we do, it gradually transforms into pure devotional service through a combination of mercy and our effort. So mercy is Krishna giving us the guiding us. Effort is us conscientiously trying to avoid the offenses and us conscientiously trying to please Krishna. So not just making it mechanical, but making the effort to put our heart into it. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Very nice. Shauja Mataji.
Well, Prabhu,
Hare
thank you
Krishna.
again for the knowledge and the wonderful class. It's just unbelievable every time we learn something new. Firstly, I wanted to pass a comment on the karma, that cycle. I didn't realize the power of habits are defined right there. You can get into the wrong habits, and then it was just wonderful to see that association there, connection there. Secondly, I wanted to ask you, so devotional service, you just explained it very well too. But I'm trying to fundamentally think, what is the sadhana bhakti versus the bhava bhakti versus the prema bhakti? How does a devotee, so somebody who's engaging in devotional service, is that, just doing the activities, is that sadhana?
Yeah.
And is it
Very good question. Yes.
is
Next time we get deeply into this. Actually, this is the whole discussion. But very quickly, I'll answer just in one moment that sadhana is regulated devotional practice, right? We do it because our intelligence tells us this is the right thing to do. And when we do that regulated practice very nicely, very intensely for a long time, then it becomes naturally, it transforms into spontaneous activity. And that's the high stage of sadhana, where we don't just do it because we know we should do it, but because we want to do it. We love to do it. And when that spontaneous activity becomes the most exciting thing we do, it fills our heart, then that's bhava bhakti, devotional service in ecstasy. Bhava bhakti means devotional service in ecstasy. And then when we're madly in love with Krishna, because we're so deeply engaged in his service and feeling his presence, the reciprocation is there, then that is prema bhakti. So successive stages.
I'm interested in listening when you get to that more in detail, because it's so difficult to put the arms around it. What exactly does a devotee look like?
Yes, it's very interesting, and yes.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you very much
Mm.
for this.
Thank you. Very nice point. Yes, we'll look forward to it in the next class. That's we'll get into it deeply.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, Haripriya, we are ready for your for giving us a recap.
Yes, so the chapter 1 summary is that the discussion of the 6 characteristics of devotional service is and devotional service so sublime that the devotee doing it automatically wants only Krishna's service. He doesn't want anything else. And then the 6 effects of pure devotional service are relief from suffering, or kaleshagni, or auspiciousness, shraddha, the derides even liberation, moksha lagha to krit, extremely rare, sudurlabha, incalculable bliss, sandaranda visheshatma, attracts Krishna, Shri Krishna Karshani. So what causes suffering is karma, what impels to do sin is bija. And a little advancement in devotional service can help one attain Krishna. And then and avidya is ahankar, desire is wanting something, and action is what we desire. We act accordingly. So, and then the 4 aspects of all auspiciousness are attract, benefit others, saintly qualities, superior happiness. And then devotional service is rare because Krishna does not give it easily, and we cannot obtain it by ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow, such a nice summary, isn't it? Yes. Okay, so thank you very much, everyone. I will post the homework for this week and the study guide. Please keep reading. The best part of this is reading the Nectar of Devotion. And the Nectar of Devotion, actually, real quick, I'm going to show it. I think everyone just about knows, but this is where you can find it here online. So I'll show you here. If you go to Vedabase, so this is vedabase.io, vedabase.io, and then you scroll here, and then you do all books, and here's the Nectar Devotion. And today we did chapter 1, so like this. Yashoda Vatsala Prabhu, do you have a final, very quick comment, because I have to leave now?
Yeah, Prabhuji. So there are 51 chapters in this. So how many? Because I remember you mentioned that we are only going to do the types of bhakti
Yes.
last time. So which chapter to which chapter we are doing?
Until chapter 19. And then at the end, I'll maybe do one class, 1 or 2 classes to give you just a general understanding of the remaining sections. So we won't go in detail in those chapters because those are very technical, more technical, very nice to read, but we will just go to chapter 19. And then yeah, that's it.
Yeah, Prabhuji. And we have some question, I think, we have one parallel group where we discuss every week, and some questions are going on. So, how to, I mean to say, we have to reach you separately, or because some questions we don't have answer, don't feel we have the right answers.
Yes. Yeah, actually, it's good if you bring those questions here, like when we have the question and answer discussion. So next time, maybe I will keep that in mind, and a little earlier, which normally we do. Like I speak for 1 hour, then we have half an hour for question answer, and then at that time you just ask those questions because the rest of the group will also benefit from those questions.
Sure, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Dandavat.
Hare Krishna. Dandavat. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare